You're here. Probably know a thing or two about paraphrasing but still struggle to master the art of it. Don't worry, we're here to explain how to paraphrase a text. Hi, I'm Rika M. Lokias.
Angela May Larco.
And Carla Bertudaso.
In this video, we will talking about paraphrasing. But before we start, here are the table of contents for today's discussion. 1. Definition of paraphrase. 2. How to paraphrase in 5 steps. 3. Paraphrasing tips. 4. How to cite a paraphrase. 5. Paraphrasing versus summarizing. And 6. Avoiding plagiarism. So, what is paraphrasing? Paraphrasing means formulating someone else's ideas in your own words. To paraphrase a source, you have to rewrite the passage without changing the meaning of the original text. Paraphrasing is an alternative to quoting, where you copy someone's exact words and put them in quotation marks. In academic writing, it's usually better to paraphrase instead of quoting, because it shows that you have understood the source and make your work more original. Remember, every time you paraphrase, it's important to cite the source. You also have to be careful not to use wording that is too similar to the original. Otherwise, you could be at risk of committing plagiarism. Now that we know the meaning, here are the 5 easy steps to paraphrase a text. Step 1. Read the passage several times to fully understand the meaning. Step 2. Note down key concepts. Step 3. Write your version of the text without looking at the original. Step 4. Compare your paraphrase text with the original passage and make minor adjustment to the paraphrase that is too similar. Step 5. Cite the source where you found the idea. Here's an example. In original passage, the number of the foreign and domestic tourists in Netherlands rose above 42 million in 2017, an increase of 9% and the sharpest growth rate since 2006. The National Statistics Office (CBS) reported on Wednesday. Dutch News.nl 2018. In the paraphrase version, according to the National Statistics Office, the Netherlands experienced dramatic growth in tourist numbers in 2017. More than 42 million tourists traveled to or within the Netherlands that year, representing a 9% increase, the steepest in 12 years. Dutch News.nl 2018. As we can see in the paraphrase version, the text is rewritten in your own words. The meaning of the text did not change. The source is cited correctly according to APA in-text citation rules. I know what you're thinking. You know the steps, but still quite difficult to actually produce a piece of text that's different from the original. Fear not, because here's Mr. Caliver Tudaso to explain the 4 easy paraphrasing tips.
Don't you worry, I have 4 tips to make everything easier for you. Tip number 1. Start your first sentence at a different point from that of the original source. Tip number 2. Use synonyms. Tip number 3. Change the sentence structure. And the last, tip number 4. Break the information into separate sentences. We have applied the 4 tips to the example below. First, in the example, you can see that we started by introducing the context, followed by the last part of the original sentence, the expectation of creators, regulators, and user. In fact, the key pieces of information are mentioned in completely different order. Second, synonyms are words or phrases that means the same thing. Our example uses several synonyms. Expose a critical turning point to made it apparent. Outpaces to rapidly eclipse. Power to immense influence. Third, for example, if the sentence was originally in the active voice, changed into passive, the active voice is when a sentence is led by the subject. When the object leads the sentence, that sentence is written to passive voice. For example, technology outpaces what users, regulators, or even its creators expected. 2. The expectation of creators, regulators, and users have been rapidly eclipsed by technology. Lastly, although paraphrasing which usually result in a word count rally, the same as an original quote, you may be able to play with the number of sentences to make the text different. In this example, one long sentence was broken into two. The opposite could be also be the case i.e., if the original quote is comprised of the sentences, you may able to combine the information into one.
Thank you, Mr. Roberto. So now let's move on how to cite a paraphrase. Once you have done your perfectly paraphrased text, you need to ensure you credit the original author. No matter what citation style you use, you always paraphrase in the same way. The only thing that is different is in the in-text citation. Here's an example. The APA format, MLA format, Chicago Notes, and bibliography. As well as citing, make sure that any paraphrase text is completely written in your own words. Now, here's Miss Angeli Largo to explain paraphrasing versus summarizing.
Paraphrasing versus summarizing. A paraphrase is writing of a specific passage from someone else, so it will be approximately same length as the source's original quote. When you completely or apparently describes the outcome of a more substantial part of the research, it is called summary. A paraphrase is when you state the idea from another source in your own words, even when you use your own words. If the ideas or facts came from another source, you need to cite where they're from. Paraphrase. Put it in your own words. Retell what have you read.
Thank you, Miss Largo. And the last one is avoiding plagiarism. Paraphrasing without crediting the original author is a form of plagiarism because you're presenting someone else's idea as if they were your own. When paraphrasing, you have to be careful to avoid accidental plagiarism. This can happen if the paraphrase is too similar to the original quote, with paraphrases or whole sentences that are identical. It can also happen if you fail to properly cite the source of the paraphrase. So when does paraphrasing count as plagiarism? Paraphrasing is plagiarism if you don't properly credit the original author. Paraphrasing is plagiarism if your text is too close to the original wording even if you cite the source. If you directly copy a sentence or paraphrase, you should quote it instead. Paraphrasing is not plagiarism if you put author's idea completely in your own words and properly cite the source. Final note, you do not need to cite the facts that are common knowledge such as where the person was born, their date of birth, etc. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.